Indeed, it's your boy Meech here with the Hope Dealers podcast. It is episode number 2. The Hope Dealers, we are back for another great episode. Again, my name is Meech. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode number 2 of the Hope Dealers podcast. With me, as always, is my homeboy, my ace bull coon, my man 50 Grand Mac. What's good?
What up, man?
What up, man? What up is number 2. What up is this great show that we have on tap. That sounds crazy. What up is number 2. That is all good.
Hey,
But
man,
we have
dropping that deuce, dog. That's what we do, dropping that deuce.
yeah, man, we got a great show on tap here for episode number 2 of the Hope Dealers podcast. Today we are going to discuss the World Cup, and specifically a person that does not like the World Cup. There is a certain columnist out there, commentator out there, who's had some negative things to say about the World Cup. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into some LeBron mania. NBA free agency is taking the world by storm. In particular, LeBron James is taking the world by storm. He literally has the world in his hands as the NBA stands still waiting for his decision. We're going to discuss LeBron James. We're also going to discuss the handsome felon phenomenon. We'll talk about that a little bit. For those that aren't familiar, we will make sure you are familiar with the handsome felon and the online movement that this guy has seemingly started. And then lastly, we're going to talk about is God concerned with our happiness? Whether or not God is concerned with our happiness. We're going to get into that as well. Plus, we'll have the song of the week. And Mac, it's my birthday, homeboy.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Yeah, so we're going to
54
turn
years young.
up. 54 years old, young Meech. No, I'm not really not 54 people, but yeah, man. So we're broadcasting this show, man, on my birthday, so I'm very excited about that. Sharing the day with the people, We thank you guys so much for listening to episode number 1. The downloads were really good. Your response was really great on Facebook and Twitter, so we're so appreciative of your support and listening to the show. So let's get into it. But before we do, Mac, tell everybody where they can find us online.
Yo, y'all can find us on our Facebook page. Just search The Hope Dealers. Also on our Google Plus page, search The Hope Dealers. And if you're on Twitter, like me, you can find us on Twitter at The HD. That's capital H, capital D, 313.
Indeed, indeed. And also, this just in, breaking news, so to speak, the Hope Dealers podcast is now available for download on iTunes. So if you are an iTunes, that's right. Reason to get excited. If you are an iTunes person like myself, you can subscribe. Yes, subscribe to the
or
podcast.
User.
Yes, subscriber or user. My apologies. Max making sure I'm politically correct here. If you are an iTunes subscriber, be sure to subscribe to the Hope Dealers podcast, and you will be automatically updated with our new episodes. So we're just excited about that and excited that you guys are joining us here today. So let's get right into it. We're going to get into a little World Cup talk. I have to tell you, Matt, to be honest with you, man, I have been a little sucked in by the World Cup phenomenon. I've been into it. You and I actually went out a couple weeks ago. We were going to a Tigers game, and we were at a restaurant where the World Cup was on, and there was a lot of people there watching and enjoying it and diving all in and being caught up in the World Cup, and of course rooting for the USA and deeply involved. What are your thoughts on the World Cup? Have you been tuning in? Have you been interested?
You know, I've been tuning in. I can't necessarily say I'm interested in soccer other than playing FIFA on PlayStation, but it's interesting. It's actually been pretty fun to watch, and seeing people go all out there for their country is kind of inspiring, I guess, to me. I guess that's why I like the Olympics so much, because, you know, you're doing it for country, and I don't know. I've been caught up in the soccer hype, dude. I'll admit.
Yeah, man, I'm not a huge soccer fan at all. My son plays soccer, and it's not necessarily the most exciting thing to watch.
You're exactly correct.
Yeah, so it's interesting, man, that I have been caught up a little bit with the World Cup uh hype that's been going on here. I got a buddy at work who sits next to me at work, and he's very, very much into the World Cup, and he keeps me abreast of everything that's going on. And really, because of him and his excitement, it kind of sparked my interest. And I actually, if I'm kind of sitting around leisurely chilling at the crib or whatever, I will turn on the World Cup and check out a game. But there is a columnist, there is a person out there, and you know who I'm talking about, who has some pretty negative things to say about the World Cup, about soccer, and really about any American that watches the World Cup. And I'm talking about the world famous Ann Coulter,
The former Mrs. Jimmy J.J. Walker.
Excuse me?
Oh, they used to date. They used to kick it back in the day. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Are you serious?
Only you would know that useless information. Like, she really dated, like, JJ from Good Times?
She dated JJ from Good Times. As a matter of fact, I'm on Google looking at it now.
Word, wow. Well, anyway, Ann Coulter, who is controversial, may be an understatement. She is a very, very controversial person. Wrote not one, but two articles pertaining to the World Cup. The first one was just her talking about her displeasure with the World Cup, and then the second article was like a rebuttal to all the negative feedback she got from article number one. But we're kind of going to focus on the first article and just some of the statements she made, and I just want to get your thoughts on some of these. Just a couple things. She actually referred to soccer as a fruity sport. She basically said it's not a real sport because it does not have any type of violence or personal humiliation. She also made comments like that Americans watching soccer is leading to the moral decay of our country. Um, wow. So she said things like that. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if that was what she said verbatim, but in a nutshell, she did say that Americans watching soccer is leading to the moral decay of the country. And she said, no American whose great grandfather was born here in America is watching soccer. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm sorry. While you were going through all that, I'm still looking up information on Ann Coulter and J.J. Walker.
Come on, man. Nobody care about J.J. Come on.
I'm sorry, but this is phenomenal. This is fascinating, dude. But I don't agree with Ann Coulter's comments. I never agree with anything Ann Coulter says. She just says things to get a rise out of people, and those are the people who I have chose to ignore. But I do not think soccer is leading to like moral decay in our country. I actually think it is a sign of how integrated our country has become. The country is becoming less and less white. The more and more minorities come in, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I think it's, if people can come here and live a better life, I'm all for it. So I'm not going to get into a discussion about immigration right now. I just, I think Ann Coulter is a nutcase. So, and she just says things to get a rise out of people, which I kind of ignore those people. I ignore Glenn Beck. I ignore Bill O'Reilly, even though I did used to rock with O'Reilly back in the day. But Ann Coulter is probably I put her on Rush Limbaugh level where I just don't give him any of my attention.
Yeah, and it's interesting, man, because soccer actually within itself, right? Soccer is amongst youth a very, very popular sport. I remember being a kid, and I'm sure you can remember when you were a kid as well. I don't remember soccer ever. I don't remember there being any youth soccer leagues anywhere. If they were in the suburbs. They were very difficult to find. Now you can go almost anywhere and find a soccer league for your kid to play in. I actually have coworkers who play in soccer leagues who are adults. Soccer is very, very popular here in the United States. I don't know if that has anything to do, or if it's all attributed to our nation becoming more and more diverse. I don't know if that's specifically what it is, but soccer is very popular now in the United States with both kids and adults. So it's not really a huge surprise to me that the World Cup here in America is becoming more and more popular because soccer itself is becoming more and more popular. In
I
fact,
actually played soccer for like 6 weeks growing up. And the crazy thing is my Uncle Andre signed up me, my brother, and my cousin Andre. And we went to a couple practices, and then the last thing I heard was the coach broke his foot. So it was over, just like that.
wow, wow. And the
But we
numbers,
had
man.
we had the shorts. My mom went and got us the shin guards, the cleats, everything. We was soccer ready, and it wasn't like it was the suburbs. It was on. We were practicing right off of 8 Mile of Greenfield at a park. So
Wow, wow. I can't
no, I'm
recall
sorry, 8 Mile of
any.
Evergreen.
I can't recall any soccer leagues from when I was a kid. I don't. Football, baseball, basketball, those were definitely present, but I don't recall any soccer leagues at all in Detroit growing up. But anyway, the numbers for the World Cup have been really, really good. In fact, the USA's game against Portugal drew 18.2 million viewers on ESPN. 18.2 million. That's a lot for Ann Coulter to say, well, nobody really cares about soccer. In fact, she says soccer is not growing amongst African Americans. She's basically saying black people don't really watch soccer. This is all, white people and basically anyone else that is not African American. We're both African Americans. We both have said on the here on the show that while we've been caught up a little bit in the World Cup phenomenon, that we're not necessarily regular fans of soccer. So I do think her African American comment maybe has some validity to it. Obviously, we're two African Americans. We don't represent the entire race of people, but um, most African Americans I know, soccer is not their preferred sport of choice.
Well, that's true, and it's usually probably football or basketball. But then you got to look at the kids. My kids love soccer. I know your kids play soccer. So it's not about people who are in our age, it's about the kids. The kids don't like football and basketball like they used to. I guess they still do, but they like soccer now too. So it's not just, maybe it's not on the rise in African Americans in our age group because we first of all, a lot of black people don't watch the English Premier League or any of those other leagues that come on TV because they're in Europe. They come on early in the morning. What people don't see, they're barely on TV. So a lot of people, unless you're really, really into soccer, just don't know when to watch it. The MLS is not like really promoted well here in the States. I mean, you got the teams, but it's lack of promotion. Same with baseball. Growing up, baseball leagues used to be everywhere, and now you can't find a baseball league anywhere, especially near the hood. So,
Good point. Very valid point. Most of the urban communities now solely focus primarily on football and basketball. That's what my findings have been, and that's actually a good topic maybe for a future show. Kind of how we see football and basketball being very popular in urban areas, and maybe that's contributed or attributed to the fact that most of our African American athletes either become basketball or football players. That seems to be the two sports where African Americans are most prevalent. So that's an interesting topic for another show. But we're talking World Cup right now, talking World Cup soccer and Coulter's comments in particular. And before we
hold on.
move
But you
on
know
to
who
another
loves
topic,
soccer? Kobe Bryant loves soccer. And I love Kobe Bryant. So I love soccer.
thank you for that, Matt. But before we move on to to another topic, I want to get your opinion on whether or not Ann Coulter's comments were uh, bigoted or racist were those statements that she made. In particular, um, Americans who watch soccer today, it's only because of the demographic switch affected by Ted Kennedy's 1965 immigration law. I promise you, no American whose great grandfather was born here is watching soccer. One can only hope that in addition to learning English, these new Americans, and she used that in quotation marks, will drop their soccer fetish with me. And those were Ann Coulter's exact words. Listening to that statement, are those racist comments?
I don't think they're racist. Are they ignorant? Yes. Racist? No. I mean, she's telling the truth because there are a lot of people being born here of Hispanic descent. What's the number one sport all across the world? Soccer. Or excuse me, football. But no, I don't think they're racist. I mean, ignorant? Yes. Racist? No.
I think they're discriminatory comments. I think those statements that she made are absolutely discriminating against um, those who may have immigrated to America and now live here and thus love soccer. She's saying basically, I hope that in addition to learning to speak English, these new Americans will drop their soccer fetish. Then she uses Americans in quotation marks. She doesn't even acknowledge them as like real Americans. So they're definitely the comments are, in my opinion, they're racist. They're definitely discriminatory comments.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, they're discriminatory. They're ignorant. Racist? No.
Well, I guess we will agree to disagree there. And whether Ann Coulter likes it or not, apparently ESPN is loving it because
I know they are.
their ratings are through the roof right now for the World Cup. And even though the United States is out, I'm willing to bet that Sunday's World Cup final between Germany and Argentina will draw huge numbers. We're going to go ahead and stay right on the sports front. Since we're talking World Cup, let's go ahead and slide right back in to another sports topic. And we're going to keep it brief on this because we talked a lot last week about NBA free agency. But we have to address the
Bronamania.
worldwide phenomenon that is taking place right now. LeBron James, in very Bray Wyatt like fashion, has the whole world in his
In his
hands,
hands.
or better yet, God like fashion, has the whole world
In
in his
his
hands.
hands.
The NBA is at a complete standstill right now as we await LeBron James's decision.
Hold,
In
hold on, hold
fact,
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We're wrestling fans. You could have kept with the Bray Wyatt tie-in right there.
I could have,
That was
but a
actually
lot of people
pretty.
may not.
That was pretty smart.
Yes, thank you. But a lot of people may not be familiar with Bray Wyatt. A lot of people might. So,
But they
whatever.
have
But
Google.
they have Google. Google Bray Wyatt, guys, for those
So
that don't know. But LeBron, man, he is the hot sports. I mean, even probably even more hotter than the World Cup at this point. This is definitely the most dominant story here in America. LeBron James's free agent decision. Right now, it seemingly seems to be a two-team race. Either he stays in Miami or he goes back home to Cleveland. The prodigal son returns to his hometown and saves the day. In fact, it's getting crazy, man. People are actually parked outside of his home in suburban Akron. People are
there's actually a
actually
car accident out there outside of his house today too.
Wow. People are actually
Yeah.
walking down the street with his jerseys on. People are sitting on top of cars waiting to get a glimpse of him. And this brother's in Las Vegas. Now he's flown back to Miami because he's
Yeah.
actually going to the World Cup final. He's leaving for Brazil. What do you make of all this, man? What do you
Well,
make
actually, it's
of.
not. He's not leaving for the World Cup final, but the World Cup of basketball is starting soon, and well, I believe next week, and it's in Brazil also. So that's what he's leaving for. Formerly the FIBA World Basketball Championships is now the World Cup.
Right, but my understanding is that he's actually going to attend the soccer World Cup final as well. So yeah, so he could be very well be going to Brazil for Team USA for their participation in the basketball World Cup, which I don't think he's going to play in, but I'm sure maybe he's going there for as a part of the Team USA program. But what do you make of all of this free agency stuff, this LeBron-omania that seems to be sweeping the nation right now?
Bro, I love it. I'm an NBA junkie. I am an NBA junkie. I love it. I don't know why. I know there's no chance in hell he's coming to play for our beloved, excuse me, not our, my beloved Detroit Pistons. But I'm just enthralled by it. And it's not even for the fact that I hate Cleveland and I want him to burn Cleveland again. I actually kind of want him to go back to Cleveland. Because you got to love the story of a guy who left his hometown, then comes back to potentially be that hometown savior that everybody knew he could be. Look, man, I'm a big fan of LeBron. I am. I didn't have a problem with the first decision. I really didn't. And you know what? He's a free agent, so he can go anywhere he darn well pleases. So I'm loving it. I love the fact that it's got the NBA in a standstill. I love the fact that no free agents other than like Steve Blake have signed with anybody, and Jody Meeks. But it's crazy. You know, we're waiting on to see what Melo's going to do. I still think the best move for him would be Chicago, but I'm a feeling he's going to take the money and stay with New York. There's got to be something for LeBron. You know, it's got to be something for LeBron to say if he goes back to Miami, because he built the championships there. People could say, all they want to about him joining with Wade and Chris Bosh, but you know, he built a championship team there. They won 2 championships, and all of these people hating LeBron, acting like he didn't win back-to-back championships, you know. But, you know, there's got to be something to say for him going back to Cleveland and potentially winning that franchise championship. I'm loving it. I'm in heaven right now, dude.
It would probably be one of the greatest stories probably ever in sports, to have a guy who is from Ohio, who played for the professional sports team there in Ohio, left, became an even bigger star and a bigger success away, won 2 championships, and returns back to his hometown team to help bring them the championship. It would be one of the greatest redemption stories ever in sports, for a city like Cleveland that hasn't won a championship of any kind in a very, very long time.
They've had some heartbreak.
They have had some heartbreak. It would be a great story for the city of Cleveland, for the people of Cleveland. And I really feel bad for the people of Cleveland, because if he does not go there, if he decides to stay in Miami, I can only imagine what these people are going to do. All those people standing outside his home, who knows what they might have up their sleeves if he decides not to come to Cleveland. Now, he hasn't, in his defense, he hasn't said much. He hasn't committed to anything. He hasn't gotten anyone's hopes up. You want to point the blame at anyone for all this hype, you got to point it at the media. The media has done it. The media has gassed the people of Cleveland up. So Cleveland, if LeBron stays in Miami, is not his fault. You can't get mad at him. Blame the media, because they have been a hype machine behind this whole thing, and I've been completely sucked in. I'm not even going to lie.
First of all, I hate ESPN. I hate ESPN because they'll take something and just dry. Now, I like Chris Broussard. I don't make fun of Chris Broussard because of all of his sources, but you know, Chris Broussard's sources have become a Twitter meme. But it's ESPN who's just taking a story and just driving it, and it's nothing. They drive up everything. And I understand they gotta have ratings, they gotta have views, but it's just the constant 24-hour ESPN. ESPN is the devil.
Come on, man. Seriously.
Yes.
First of all, this is a period in sports right now, right? Football is the most popular sport in America, no doubt. The World Cup is going on right now, so that is piquing the interest of some sports fans.
Yeah.
Baseball, is very popular, but still, they lost some luster when they went on that lockout years ago, and they still have been playing catch up ever since. So this LeBron James news has really carried the world of sports in a time where really the summertime is really kind of like I don't
Dead
want to say a
season.
drought, but it's kind of like a dead season in the world of sports. Even though you still got baseball, and this year we got the World Cup,
And
but
you
people
got
are eagerly.
Wimbledon too. Remember, that's a forgotten sport. I grew up watching Wimbledon in the summer times when it wasn't basketball season. Man, Wimbledon is awesome. And then you had that classic between Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer last week. That's good sports, man. But the
No
fact
doubt,
is,
it's good sport, but I mean, if you're not an avid tennis fan, you probably didn't see it, right?
yeah, that's
So
true.
so LeBron James is going to dominate the headlines because we're in this kind of quote unquote dead period in sports as people await college football and professional football to start. So, um, ESPN is going to take this ball and run with it, and they're going to drill it and run it and pound it and pound it and pound it all the way until we have the decision part two. And so that is a great segue for me to you to ask you the decision part two. You are LeBron James. You are LeBron James. Where do you go?
Can I get a drum roll?
No, just answer the question.
If I'm LeBron James, I go back to Miami. How can you play for Dan Gilbert after that scathing letter that he wrote in Comic Sans font, dissing you in 2010? Told you it was callous and disloyal, you know, that the Cavaliers would win a championship before the self-proclaimed king. I go to back to Miami because there's no way that me personally I couldn't play for a dude like that anymore. Maybe they've mended the fences, but you know what? I also go back to Miami because they can pay me the most money.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, if I'm LeBron James, I'm going back to Cleveland.
No,
I'm going home. I think it would be a great sign to show forgiveness. Hey, what better time for us to talk about forgiveness than right here on a Christian worldview show? We're talking about sports, and we can bring up the topic of forgiveness. I think LeBron James would be I don't want to say he would be the bigger person, but he would be a great example to people just saying, hey, you know what? I'm big enough to let bygones be bygones. I see the bigger picture. I love Cleveland. I love Ohio. And I want to come back home and bring you guys a championship. I think Cleveland's roster in the long run is more
it's
talented.
way better.
I think they're more talented because I think Dwayne Wade is on the downside of his career. I
Yep.
think Chris Bosh is still a good player, but outside of that, I mean, you just picked up Danny Granger. Danny Granger is definitely not the same since his
Can't even
injury.
move anymore. Yeah.
Right, he's definitely not the same. Josh McRoberts was a good pickup. I'm not gonna hate on that pickup. I thought Josh McRoberts was a good pickup. But then what else do you do at this point? Because if you re-sign Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, you don't have the flexibility. All you have the flexibility to do is bring back the guys that were free agents that are already a part of the team, like the Udonis Haslams, the Mario Chalmers, Ray Allen, if those guys come back. So then you virtually are bringing back the same team with
Yep.
the addition of Danny Granger and Josh McRoberts. I don't think that's enough to get you over the hump and beat any of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Western Conference. So if I were LeBron, I would go back to Cleveland. Maybe you don't go to the finals in year one. You got to gel with that young team with Kyrie and with Wiggins or possibly Kevin Love. That's been floating around out there. Possibly Kevin Love. Maybe you got Deion Waiters and Tristan Thompson. You got a nice young squad, and if they bring in Kevin Love, the threesome of Kevin Love, LeBron, and Kyrie Irving would be very, very good.
And Kevin Love did say that if LeBron goes to Cleveland and he's traded to Cleveland, he'd be willing to sign an extension.
Correct, correct. So we'll see, man.
But you also gotta consider what Cleveland would have to give up to get one Kevin Love. But
they have
we'll
three first round draft picks.
Yep.
They probably would have to give up one of those. They probably would have to give up Anthony Wiggins. Do you give up Anthony
Wiggins?
I'm sorry, that's Anthony. I always say Anthony.
Anthony Bennett.
Yes, Anthony Bennett is on the team, right? Andrew Wiggins. Do you give up Andrew Wiggins to potentially get LeBron James and Kevin Love? My answer is yes.
Yes.
My answer is yes. I mean, no doubt about it. I would do it in a heartbeat. But we shall see. We shall see where LeBron Mania goes.
Now, one last take on free agency. If I was Chris Bosh, I'd be gone. Because you know what? Yeah, if he goes to Houston, he'd be the third fiddle like he is in Miami. But you know what? Damn it, he's earned it. He sacrificed the most on that Miami team, and he wants that money. You know, and he'll go to a team where, no, he won't be the focal point on offense, but he complements Dwight Howard. And him and Howard, that front line would be the top defensive front line in the league. And he wouldn't have to take the blame for everything that goes wrong at Houston. That would probably fall on James Harden.
All right. Well, that is...
Get that money, Chris Bosh.
That is our free agency commentary. We didn't really want to get a whole lot in depth. We just kind of wanted to talk about LeBron specifically and see what happens with that guy. So it'll be interesting, man, to see when a decision will come down, because everybody's waiting on LeBron. We're waiting on you, man. Nobody else can make a move until you make a move. So,
well, I did just, as we were talking and going over that, I was on my phone, and I was on SBNation.com, which is turned into my favorite, most visited site on the internet. And SB Nation is reporting that LeBron is going to make his decision before the World Cup final.
As in the soccer World Cup final.
Yes. Let me just verify, that. But yes, apparently so.
Well, we shall see. That means that would be today or tomorrow. He would be making his decision, because the World Cup final is Sunday. So we shall see what LeBron decides to do. We will all be eagerly awaiting the decision, part 2. And I'm sure whatever LeBron does, I mean, he'll make the best decision for him and for his family. So we definitely wish him the best in that regard. All right, well, we're going to take a break in our discussion here and go to the song of the week. This week, it's the birthday boy's pick. That would be me, Meech. And before we do that, I want to remind everybody that you guys can keep up with the Hope Dealers all over social media. Facebook, search the Hope Dealers, all one word, the Hope Dealers. Google Plus, the Hope Dealers. We're on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at TheHD313. You can also download the Hope Dealers podcast on iTunes. And the podcast, of course, is available at our website, which is thisislightlife.com. So make sure you stay connected to us via our social platforms, via our website. Also, email us. Email us show ideas. Email us topic ideas. Email us songs of the week suggestions to hopedealers313 at gmail.com. hopedealers313 at gmail.com. So let's go ahead.
I had no idea we had an email address.
Boom, there you go. Now you know, brother. We have an email address. So let's go ahead and get into this song of the week. And it's my pick. Meech's song of the week this week is a relatively new joint. Okay? It is a song that comes from a guy who arguably is the most popular Christian hip-hop artist out today. That would be my homeboy, my main man, Lecrae. And the song of the week is the new single from his upcoming album entitled Anomaly, which comes out, we just found this out, September 9th. Anomaly will drop. So the song of the week this week is Nothing by Lecrae. So go ahead and check this out. Again, song of the week is Nothing by Lecrae off the upcoming album Anomaly. Check it out. All right, man, that was the Hope Dealer song of the week, Nothing by Lecrae. That song right now is available for download on iTunes. You can also go pick up the album Anomaly. Lecrae's new album Anomaly drops September 9th, and that song, Nothing, will be on the album. That's an interesting song, man, because he is speaking to the fact that what we get on mainstream radio, mainstream hip-hop in particular, is basically a running cycle of what I'm wearing, what I'm driving, how many girls I got, what I'm selling. And Lecrae is basically saying that rappers these days aren't talking about anything of substance, anything that's going to change and impact communities and change and impact the world. But thank God for brothers like Lecrae and others like Tadashi. Last week, he was our song of the week. Brothers like that and many, many others who actually rap substance and rap things that can have an impact in our communities and help to change our world. So shout out Lecrae.
There's plenty of guys out there. People just gotta, take off the BS and go find them. Look for them. Come to us at the Hope Dealers. We can point y'all in the right direction. We know some fly MCs. Well, we don't know them personally, but we got some fly music that we listen to. Might be able to put y'all up on something.
Indeed, indeed. In fact, great segue. On our website, thisislightlife.com, right now, you can go on the website and check out a write-up on Bizzle. Bizzle is one of those Christian artists that Mac was just alluding to who spits positive, God-glorifying lyrics. And he actually has a unique project coming out later this month, July 22nd, called Well Wishes, where 100% of his album's proceeds go towards helping to build water wells in Africa. So we have a story, a write-up on Bizzle's album Well Wishes, and about a 5-minute video where he actually shares his heart behind why he decided to do the album and why he decided to allot 100% of the proceeds from the album to go towards building water wells. So that's very interesting. So be sure to go and check out thisislightlife.com, where we have a write-up on that. And you can also go to thisislightlife.com and hear Lecrae's song Nothing, which we have posted on the site as well. All right, Mac, we're going to move on real quick and jump into the topic of the handsome felon.
Oh, my goodness.
For those that don't know, I think this guy brother's name is Jeremy Meeks, if I'm not mistaken. This brother is a guy whose mugshot was posted on, I think, Stockton. Was it California?
Yeah.
I think it was Stockton, California. I could be wrong. It's either California or Arizona. I think it's California. Stockton, California posted his mugshot on their Facebook page. And the mugshot went viral. Nice looking brother, right? He was admired by a ton of people. His photo goes viral and starts this craze all over the internet. So much so.
Man, he just light skinned with hazel eyes, man.
he is light skinned with hazel eyes. But so much so, like his photo going viral went so crazy that even though this brother is still in jail, he hasn't gotten out on bail because his bond is actually set at like $1.1 million. That's a lot. So he must have did something really bad for his bond to be set that high. But so he's still in jail on bail, but yet he has now attained.
Actually, he don't even have hazel eyes. He has gray eyes, son. Yo, I'm going to revisit the story right now. Yeah, and it is Stockton, California, but
okay. Are we seriously going into a discussion about the brother's eyes? I don't really want to get into that.
But let's proceed.
Yes, thank you. The point is, he has now a Hollywood agent. And by Hollywood, I don't know if I would deem it high. He's being represented by the same person that represents Octomom and V. Stiviano, who is infamously known as the person who released the Donald Sterling tapes to TMZ. So he's now represented by the same agent that represents those two. And he has also allegedly been offered a $30,000 modeling contract. So I bring this up to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Does this whole situation with the quote-unquote handsome felon speak to the power of the internet, the power of social media, or does it speak to, as my buddy, as someone, a listener, my homeboy Matt, pointed out, does it speak to the vanity of our society, the vainness, or the love of looks and good looks in our society? What do you think about that?
Get that dough, son.
Can you elaborate?
I mean, who knows what this dude was doing? I don't. I haven't looked up, I haven't found a story on him. That story I was just reading, I saw that he was married. But he's only 30 years old. He's a pretty young cat, man. And it's sad to see, guys who's going down that wrong path, and their life is taking a turn for, bad. But this could be something to save him, He was blessed with good looks, you know what I mean? A lot of us wish that, man, I wish I was, I wish I had them eyes, son, I wish I had the honeys or whatever, but, hey, he was blessed with good looks. Might as well use them.
So, but that brings me to my point about the vanity thing. Like you said, you just made the statement. A lot of us wish we had certain color eyes or had good looks or things of that nature. That is a problem in today's society, is it not?
Vanity, materialism, yeah.
Okay, so I think when you look at this whole situation with the guy with the quote unquote handsome felon, you can look at it one or two ways. I've heard two positions. I've heard, wow, look at the power of the internet, the power of social media, that this guy's picture can be spread amongst millions and millions of people worldwide and get noticed by a talent agent, get noticed by modeling agencies, and now he gets a $30,000 contract, which could presumably help him turn his life around.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that group of people, and then you have the other group of people to say, this is ridiculous. This guy is this isn't his first run-in with the law. He has committed various crimes according to reports and things that have been read. He doesn't deserve an opportunity like this. I mean, this is ridiculous. There are actually people who are aspiring to be models, who have worked hard for many, many, many years to try to become a model, but yet this one guy has a picture that goes viral all over the internet, and he's been offered this contract that so many people who work for it haven't been able to get. What do you think about that?
Hey, man, sometimes that's all it takes, Everybody, how can I put this? Look, I'm not one of the people who's saying like, oh man, he getting a free pass. I don't work. Whatever. His picture was on Facebook. Everybody knows how big Facebook is. Facebook is just about as big as Google, when it comes to users or whatnot. But all it takes is just like, people who put videos on YouTube. All it takes is for one person to notice you, regardless of what you're doing. All it takes for one person to notice you, and if they see you're talented, hey, you're talented. They gon' want you. Like Jen Stelter, for instance. You know who Jen Stelter is, right?
No.
Okay. Jen Stelter is this Instagram model who basically has become famous for taking butt shots on Instagram. She does yoga. She's very toned. She's hot. I'll just put it that way. She's hot. So basically, she got famous because of the videos and her posts on Instagram. So people are always, if you are doing something that makes somebody notice you, and you can parlay that into, your career, I mean, people are going to do that nowadays because nowadays people are looking for the fast buck. It's a reason why they call this generation the generation, the me generation, Generation Me. They want instant gratification. Everybody wants to get rich quick, you know.
Right. So this does speak, I think, to a bigger issue. You just made the point about the Instagram, the lady who's posted pictures on Instagram that has made her famous. We see a ton of this now online um where people become popular, and we've seen whether it's through unfortunately sex tapes and
Hmm.
all these different things that they do. They become popular for reasons that are vain, their looks, their body, their all these different things, and it
For
just seems
popular
to
for the
be
wrong reasons.
right, popular for the wrong reasons. It just seems to be an issue that is growing in America, and it seems that this story with the handsome felon kind of adds on to that. I mean, this is a guy who, and look, I'm all for second chances. One of our listeners, May, actually commented on our Facebook page and said, you know what, this could be something that catapults him and helps him to turn his life around.
It could be.
Him getting his modeling contract could help him get his life back on track. My understanding is that he's married, that he has children. So this could be something that helps him help his family. And I'm all for that. I'm all for second chances. We definitely believe in a God who gives second, third, fourth, 10th, 20th,
Millions.
100th chances, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. But I do think that this situation and others, I mean, we can name countless quote unquote celebrities who have become popular for I don't want to say you said the wrong reasons, but reasons that attribute to that could be credited to like vanity. So we've seen this all over the place. So it's not new, but I do think that it is a problem that we have in our society today. We have people who are so obsessed with the way they look and weight and all these different things.
And
And
fame too. That's another thing. People are obsessed with being famous. Nowadays. It seemed like growing up, everybody didn't want to be famous, but nowadays everybody wants to be famous. Oh, Kardashian did it. Kim Kardashian got famous off a sex tape. And then her sisters got famous because she got famous off of a sex tape. So everybody's addicted to fame nowadays.
right, and like I said, and that's definitely something that I think the internet has catapulted. I mean, you have mediums like YouTube and I mean we even on our show here. I mean, we take advantage of the social media and all the things that are available to us to
Yeah.
help get our messages out and help get information out. And people use them for good, and people use them for not so good. So it's just an interesting phenomenon. But either way, whatever happens with the whole handsome felon story, I hope that the brother turns his life around. I
Hey,
hope that the brother.
I just posted a message on our Facebook page right now, son.
Okay, all right. So either way, I hope that the guy turns his life around. I hope that if he indeed has this modeling contract, that it helps him to change his life. It helps him to change his family's life and gets him on the right, trajectory and away from a life of crime. So all the best to the handsome felon. But it is an interesting topic and an interesting discussion that we'll have, I'm sure, going forward about whether or not our society today is too vain and fame addicted.
Yeah.
All right, you definitely. All right, Matt. Well, we're gonna shift gears here and talk a little bit about happiness. Everybody wants to be happy.
Yeah.
Pharrell has the most popular song in the world right now that speaks about being happy. Everybody wants to be happy. Happiness is, according to Pharrell, the truth, right? He says it in the song.
Yeah.
Happiness is the truth. It is, I don't agree with that. Just put that disclaimer out. But it is definitely something that, it seems to be the running theme. Everybody talks about, I just want to be happy. That
Yeah.
could be in relationships, that could be in career, that could be financially, whatever. Everybody wants happiness. But I want to bring up an interesting question as it pertains to our happiness and God. Does God concern himself, or is God concerned with our happiness? Mac, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think God is in heaven saying, I want such and such to be happy?
That's a tough one for me because you're okay. Disclaimer: you're the let me see, how can I put this? You are the more theologically educated between the two of us. Let's put it that way. So you've obviously probably read more than on this topic than I have, but I don't necessarily. That's a weird question to tackle. Just like how people were saying, "Oh man, God don't care if Tim Tebow win or lose a football game," So it's a weird question. As far as individual happiness goes, I think that he wants us to be happy worshiping him.
Great answer.
So,
That's a good answer. That's a good
oh,
answer.
okay.
Did
Thank
you
you.
have anything? No, I mean, whether or not I'm just looking for your input. It's not about who's theologically educated and all that stuff. I'm in school. I don't know all the answers to anything. I'm a student constantly learning. So
Right.
I'm just looking for your input on on the topic. And you make a good point. I think that God's whether or not God wants us to be happy. I think first of all, I think there's a difference between happiness and joy,
Yeah.
right? Because happiness is a conditional feeling. Happiness is, wow, I got some ice cream. Ice cream makes me happy. I got,
Puppies make me happy.
yeah, puppies make me happy. Tomorrow's payday. I got a little money in the bank.
Definitely
I'm,
makes me happy.
I'm happy. 1 week later, when the check is spent and all the money is gone, I'm unhappy. So I
Yeah.
say that to say what? Happiness is a condition that, or happiness is something that flees. It's something that leaves. It's kind of like
Mm.
a temporary state of mind because you could be happy one day and unhappy the next, right? You could be
And it doesn't
happy.
even have to go from day to day. You can be happy 1 second and then rage the next. So,
There you go. Absolutely, absolutely. So I think more than happiness, right? I
right?
think I think that God wants us to have joy
Yeah.
because joy is everlasting,
Yeah.
especially if our joy is found in God. It's eternal, it's everlasting. It's something that no matter our circumstances, no matter what we're going through, no matter what we're experiencing, even though we may be unhappy in a situation, we have joy and hope in God. Therefore, that can never be taken away from us. Andy Mineo, one of my favorite artists, he has a song where he says, I'm free, I'm alive, feeling good, all right. You can't take my joy because the world didn't give it to me. See, joy is something that the world doesn't give us. God is our ultimate source of joy. Therefore, no matter what's going on with us, no matter what's happening with us, our joy can never be taken away from us. Whereas happiness in just a moment or a second or a minute, like you said, can be gone, and you can be mad and angry
Yeah.
and enraged in minutes, as you stated. Um, I also think that God, in terms of our happiness, if our happiness draws us away from Him, if our happiness drives a wedge between our relationship with Him, if our happiness is in sin, I definitely think God doesn't care about our happiness. If our
Yeah.
happiness is rooted in sin and rooted in separation from Him and no
Yeah.
relationship with Him, I definitely think that God wouldn't be concerned about our happiness in that regard. I
That's
think
true.
that I think that God more than anything wants us to become more and more like Him. So more than our, or more and more like Jesus. So more than our happiness, God is probably more concerned about our holiness. I know you may have heard that a lot.
Uh,
God is God is less concerned about our happiness and more concerned about our holiness. So
right.
I think in an effort to become more and more like Jesus, I think that our holiness is what's important to God. The sanctification process is what's important to God. But I do think that if if our happiness, like I said, happiness is just a temporary feeling. But I think there are certain aspects of our lives where God says, "Hey, if you're living for me, if you're serving me, you can have joy in that, even
Right.
though things may not be going your way. In terms of, maybe you're having financial troubles, maybe you're having troubles in relationships, maybe you're having uh, you know family issues, whatever it may be, you can find joy in God because that is eternal and that'll never go away. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nah, man, you pretty much summed it up, dog.
All right. Well, there you go, man. Does God so to answer the question, does God want us to be happy? I guess the answer is yes and no for me,
Yeah.
right? I think it depends on what that happiness is rooted in, and more than anything, I think joy is probably more important to have than happiness,
Yeah.
and I think holiness is something that God is more concerned with than happiness. Definitely, definitely. Well, we're
No doubt.
winding down episode number two. Episode number two
Dropping
of
that
the
deuce,
Hope
son.
Dealers. That's right, dropping that deuce. I don't know if I want to say that on the radio,
Hey,
but whatever.
yeah. Don't edit it out either, man. We dropping that deuce right here, dog.
Episode number two of the Hope Dealers podcast, man. We're so glad that you are listening to us. Just keep up with us online. Mac, how can they do so?
Hey, you can find us on our Facebook page, The Hope Dealers, all one word. You can keep up with us on our Google Plus page, The Hope Dealers. And you can also follow us on Twitter at DHD, that's capital H, capital D 313. Man, I sent out like 30, 35 Facebook invites in like the past 5 minutes, man, inviting people to like our page. And it's just, I know some people won't like it, you know, but I just hope everybody who listens to it can at least get something. Where if it's Jesus, which is what we want you to get out of it, or if it's the free agency talk, or if it's the song of the week, whatever. I just want y'all to listen, you know, and hope that somebody, because if one person gets something out this podcast, I think it's been successful, man. As we,
In,
drop that proverbial deuce with episode number two.
indeed, man.
And
Yeah, we
you
definitely.
better not edit that out, dude. You better not.
You'll see when you listen to the final product, right? But
Yeah.
man, we're so glad that you guys are listening with us this week. And as Max said, man, go ahead and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at TheHD313. Check out our website,
I
thisislightlife.com.
always forget about the website. I don't know why I forget to mention the website, but
That's why I got your back, brother. That's why I
thank
got your
you.
back.
Thank you.
But man, as Max said, man, we just definitely we're doing this podcast. We're not looking to become famous or popular or anything like that. We're just trying to provide some insight. Two brothers, man, who are just uh, growing together. We have conversations, man, and we thought it would be interesting to do a podcast. And if one or two people take something from it, great. If it's not your cup of tea, that's all right too. But we're just glad that you took a listen to the Hope Dealers podcast, and hope that if you did like it, you come back each and every week and check us out. Also, the podcast is now available for download on iTunes. So if you are an iTunes subscriber, please subscribe to the Hope Dealers podcast. We're going to end episode
Wait a minute,
number
hold on,
two.
hold on. Also, and I just put it out there on our Facebook page. Next week is the fans' choice. And I say fans like we have a lot of fans, but the fans' choice for Song of the Week. I'll put it out there on the Facebook page. Yes, the listeners. I'll put it out there on the Facebook page. If you have a pick for Song of the Week, let us know by 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, July 15th. We usually try to record the show on Tuesday. We had some technical difficulties this week. I had a change in my work schedule that kind of set me back, but so we can record it on Tuesday. But we try to record the podcast on Tuesdays, Tuesday evening. So if you have a pick for the Song of the Week, let us know by noon on Tuesday, July 15th, so we can make sure it's edited and clear. Because like I said, we're not opposed to having non-Christian songs on here, but we do reserve the right to discretion as to what we are going to pick as our Song of the Week. So, just try to keep it as clean as possible, and we'll put it up there. But just participate. And also on our Facebook page, on our Google Plus page, or at Twitter, or on the website. If you have any suggestions for the week, also you might want to get those to us by Tuesday at noon. Or what did I say? 3 p.m. or noon? I think I said noon.
I think you said 3 p.m. Then you said
3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have any topics you want to discuss, try to get those to us by 3 p.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday. Like I said, for Song of the Week picks, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. So.
All right,
we're trying to help. We're trying to extend help to as many people as we can. So.
All right, and then of course too, you can also send suggestions via email to our email box, hopedealers313@gmail.com. So definitely, this is the People's Show. We definitely want your input. We definitely want your suggestions. We want your feedback. We really appreciate it. We're new at this, so we're getting all the kinks out. So any suggestions that you have for growth and for us to make the podcast better for you, the listener, we are definitely open to that. So we're going to end. Absolutely. We're going to end today's podcast with my favorite segment, This Day in Christian History. So on this day in Christian history, on July 11th, which is Meech's birthday, which is my birthday, all right? Yep. On July 11th, 1924, a man by the name of Eric Liddell, who was a Scottish athlete, rugby player, and missionary, won the Olympic gold medal at the 1924 Summer Olympic Games in Paris. He won the 400-meter dash, and he also had an opportunity to win the 100-meter dash. He was actually a favorite, but he declined to run the 100-meter dash because the heats were ran on Sunday, and because of his religious convictions, he decided not to run in the 100 meters. But on this day, July 11th, 1924, Eric Liddell won the 400-meter dash at the 1924 Olympics in Paris. And in fact, Eric's life is depicted in the 1981 movie Chariots of Fire, which won an Oscar. So this is very interesting stuff. So not only is this guy actually an Olympic gold medalist, his life was made into a movie. Mm-hmm. He is also a Christian. So that's pretty cool stuff. So that's this day in Christian history. We learned about Eric Liddell, Olympic gold medalist, missionary, lover of Christ. That is really, really cool. Really, really cool stuff. Well, we thank you guys for listening to episode number 2
Dropping
of
that deuce.
of the Hope Dealers podcast. We will be back next week with episode number 3. We hope that you join us each and every week here on the Hope Dealers podcast, where we bring you real talk, real hope that can only be found in a real Jesus. We're out. Peace.
Peace.